Hello everyone. So this session would not be of physics, but actually it would be of English as a first language of class 12th. So as you all know, we have common books for 12th science stream and 12th commerce stream. So I would be continuing, not actually continuing, but I would be starting my first chapter in English as a first language. Alright, so let me tell you something about the books that we have. We have two books, okay? The Flamingos and Vistas. There are two NCERT books that's offer Central Board. And concerning the paper pattern of science and commerce, they are both different. They are both different. For science stream, you people would be having 50 multiple choice questions and 50 mark would be subjective questions. And for commerce, you would not be having multiple choice questions. You would be having 100 mark theory paper of English. It is made up of everything. It is made up of everything. So for science students, you would be thinking that from where MCQs would be taken out in board's question paper. So let me tell you, you have to read each and every single statement of the chapter because they are taking out MCQs from the chapters, not from any reference book available in the market. You, as the name suggests, that reference book, you can just refer to that book. You can practice grammatical section or a grammar section that has different sorts of questions. You can practice those questions from reference book so that you would have an ample idea and it would let you know how questions are asked, like change the voice, change into simple, complex, compound statements, indirect speech. We also have remove to, negative, assertive, okay, all those questions. Remember, MCQs would be asked from the chapter. You have to read each and every line of the chapter and you have to solve the exercise part which is given at the end of each chapter. And in question and answers, you have to find out the answers from the chapter, just like comprehension, just like comprehension, and understand the story, what's being told to you at the time of understanding the chapter. So now, without wasting any time, let us start our first chapter of the year. So now the first chapter is the last lesson. Which lesson? Which is our first chapter? Our first chapter is the last lesson. Which lesson? The last lesson. It's very nice chapter and is written by Alphonse Daudet. Okay, Alphonse Daudet. That's how his first name is pronounced. And this chapter plays very important role in the history of France. In the history of France, which is one of the European countries. So now let us start. So how I will do, I would be reading each and every sentences from the chapter, and I would be giving you clear explanation in simple words so that you can understand the chapter. And you have to remember one very important thing. That thing is, you have to remember the name of the author. It's very important when you write the answer of any question. It's mandatory to write the name of the chapter and the author or poet of the chapter. That is one of the most important things that you have to take care of. You have to remember the name of the author and you have to remember the name of the chapter. It's a mandatory thing. Write any answer of any question. First thing, before answering the question, you have to write the name of the respective author and the name of the chapter. Now, without wasting any time, let us start the session. Now, considering our author Alphonse Daudet, let us just know something about him. So now he was a French novelist and a short story writer. Now the last lesson is set in the days of the Franco-Prussian War, in which France was defeated by Prussia, led by Bismarck. Prussia then consisted of what now are the nations of Germany, Poland, and parts of Austria. These are all European countries, okay? These are all European countries. In this story, the French district of Alsace and Lorraine have passed into Prussians' hands. Read the story to find out more and what has affected the school. So now in the region, or to be very precise, in two districts of France or county, that is, we have two names, that is Alsace and Lorraine. So now they are in the hands of Germany. Just imagine, like once again the British conquered India in two districts of Gujarat. So now you can imagine what can happen. So the first thing that would be affected seriously would be the educational system would be affected, because British people would be forcing students to learn everything in English, okay? So you can imagine that situation. So the same kind of situation had happened in France. So one thing would be for sure, German people, let me tell you something about them. Those people, they give a lot of importance to their mother tongue, that is German. So if German people have conquered these two districts or counties, then obviously in the school they would be forcing students to learn in German rather than French. So you can imagine the situation of the school, or not of a school, you can even imagine the situation of student. How can student learn German in one day? So it would take a lot of time. What would happen to the government employees out there at school? What will happen to them? So all such kind of questions we would be getting the answer once we start the chapter. So without wasting any time, let's start it. Now, I started for school very late that morning and was in great dread of a scolding, especially because M. Hamel had said that he would question us on participles. M. Hamel, he is a teacher, okay, and I refers to our writer. And you can see that it's written was in great dread of a scolding, especially because M. Hamel had said that he would question us on participles. Okay, same participles which you had learned before, same things are there, but this would be in French. And I did not know the first word about them. For a moment, I thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. It was so warm, so bright. The birds were chirping at the edge of the woods, and in the open field back of the sawmill, the Prussian soldiers were drilling. It was all much more tempting than the rule for participles, but I had the strength to resist and hurried off to school. Now here our writer, he's having problem learning the participles, and he's even afraid that his teacher would scold him because he does not know any ABC of participles. And apart from that, our writer is also mentioning that, the day is so nice outside, birds are chirping, and he could even see the soldiers were drilling out there. Soldiers were drilling out there, but he kind of resist those things, and he decided that he would go to school. He would go to school. So finally, our writer would be going to school and would be facing his teacher no matter what happens. Okay, let's see what happens now. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. For the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from there. The lost battles, the draft, the orders of the commanding officer. And I thought to myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? So, as we can see that now he's moving out and he's moving towards the school, and in his path he saw that there was a bulletin board. Someone might be reading bulletin board. Bulletin board means something new he would be saying, or any new rule they would be addressing to the civilians out there. So my question would be, did our author stop at this bulletin board? No, he did not stop. He didn't bother to know what's going on out there. He just moved. And where did he go, or where he is going? He's going to the school. So something important might be announced at that bulletin board. Now let us read to find out more. And then, as I hurried by as fast as I could go, the blacksmith Foster, who was there with his apprentice, reading the bulletin, called after me, "Don't go so fast, Bob. You'll get to your school in plenty of time." Okay, so that's what he said. So we can come to know that there were two people who were out there at the bulletin board reading new news to the civilians. Okay, so as I told you, our author did not stop at the bulletin board. So when he was passing, someone means there were two people who were reading the bulletin board. So someone told to our author that not to go so fast. Okay, Bob refers to, it's a kind of a slang, you can say that. Okay, it refers to boy. Don't go so fast, Bob. You'll get to your school in plenty of time. In plenty of time means when you would be reaching at your school, you would not be late, you would be quite early. Okay, so that's what he's saying. Now let's move further. I thought he was making fun of me and reached M. Hamer's little garden all out of breath. Okay, so he was thinking, means who? Our writer. He was thinking that he is making fun of me. He's making fun of me. So, but this our author, didn't bother so much of what he was saying. He was just interested in going to school as fast as he can. And as mentioned here, he arrived to the school and he was out of breath. Out of breath means imagine you are late for your lecture. So you would be coming into your class running, so you would be breathing so fast. That's the actual meaning of out of breath. I know there would be few students who would be saying that I don't care if the lecture is going on, I would not be attending. Yes, so this thing is not applicable to those students. Okay, remember there are always assumptions in everything. Now let's move further. And it's better you open your textbook, okay, and listen to me very carefully. Listen to me very carefully, because in English we would not be having any board work, so you can just listen to me as a podcast. Now let's move further, okay. Usually when school began, there was a great bustle which could be heard out in the street. The opening and the closing of desk lessons repeated in unison, very loud, with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. So these were the common things that anybody or anyone can expect from the school. Like there is a great hustle and bustle, means there were many students, there were so much of noise out there, so many people yelling before teacher enters the class. And they have even added about the teachers, the ruler rapping on the table, that sound, you might be familiar with that sound. So all such things, but on that particular day when he had went to school, these things were absent. These things were absent. These things were not present. It means something very important is about to happen on that day, or the teacher might announce something very important on that day, which would be applicable to all the teachers in the school and all the students. So remember, so there were, on that particular day, there were no hustle, okay, no hustle and bustle, there was nothing. Now let us move further, and you see they have used a very good musical word, unison. Okay, lessons repeated in unison. Unison is like, for an example, if I teach you something and if I tell you to repeat the same words that I am repeating, so usually you might see that in the lower standard, so same things are there. So the teacher would be repeating something and students would be repeating the same words that the teacher is repeating. That's called unison. That is called unison. In terms of musical language, it means the same notes. That's called unison. Just have a glance at the textbook. Just have a glance for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, I would be moving forward. Okay, so now let us move forward. But now it was all so still, means though those things were nothing, it was complete silence, it was a pin drop silence. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen. But of course, that day everything had to be as quiet as Sunday morning, as it is written here, as I explained you. So now the things out there, they were very quiet. They were very quiet, just like Sunday morning. So something very important is about to happen. Something very important is about to happen. Now let us see what happens. Okay, let's move further. Where were we? Okay, yes. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places, and M. Hamel waking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. So he saw that all the students from the window of the classroom of a writer, he saw that. I mean, he had seen his friends, they were all sitting, and the interesting thing is, they were all sitting quietly. They were all sitting quietly. And even the M. Hamel, we can, as it was written earlier, that usually M. Hamel strikes his iron ruler on the table, but this time that iron ruler is under his arm. Okay, that ruler is under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. So he understood that something would be happening that would be affecting everybody. Still now we do not know that what is going to happen, but one thing is for sure, that something will be happening. So now let's try to understand what or which things will happen. But nothing happened. M. Hamel saw me and said very kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little Franz. We were beginning without you." So you can see that the teacher is very polite with our student. So in that case, even the student would be surprised, like, what happened to the teacher? Why he didn't scold me today? So something's wrong. Let's try to find out. Okay, so actually the teacher told to our student Franz. What did he say to him? Yes, just take a seat. Just take a seat. Now let's move further. I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on this beautiful green coat. Okay, his frilled shirt and the little black silk cap, all embroidered, that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. So we can see clearly the way the teacher is dressed is quite different, because here on this day is nothing like the school is distributing prizes to the students or there is an inspection from any educational offices. I think something very sad is about to happen. Okay, and you have to remember the appearance of M. Hamel, our teacher. So what is he wearing? Well, remember, he was wearing green coat. What he was wearing? Green coat and a frilled shirt and the little black silk cap. Okay, so green coat, he was wearing frilled shirt, and he had put on a silk hat. Okay, besides, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty, the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. Old Hauser, with his three-cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and several others besides. Everybody looked sad, and Hauser had brought an old primer. Old primer means the friend, okay? Old primer means the friend. So let's continue. Everybody looked sad, and Hauser had brought an old primer, thumbed at the edges, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. Now let us try to understand what's going on. So now, as you can understand clearly, it's written in a very simple language. So what is happening now? Usually the back benches were always empty in the classroom, but on this particular day those benches were completely filled up by the people. Okay, you can say villagers, and we have also names like Hauser, and there were different government employees, mayor. So all the benches were filled up. So it means something very serious is about to going to happen. Okay, something very serious. Till now we do not know what is about to happen, but one thing is for sure, that something will be happening which would be affecting each and every one sitting in the classroom. Now let us move further. While I was wondering about it all, M. Hamel mounted his chair and, in the some grave and gentle tone which he had used to me, said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive." So you can understand the sad thing that is about to happen is this. As German people, they have already invaded these two counties, Lorraine and Alsace. So a message had came from Berlin. Okay, Berlin might be the capital city at that time. So what was the message that had came? The message that had came was that this would be the last day for French. From tomorrow, each and everything would be learned in a new language, that is German language. He even added that this lesson would be his last lesson, because you see, if a language changes, then it's a problem for everyone. Now our teacher M. Hamel, he cannot make people, or he cannot make students to understand or to learn any other subject in German language. Okay, so it's a kind of a disaster for anyone. So he even added that from tomorrow he would not be coming to school, as he announced that from tomorrow onwards a new master would come, and that master would be surely from Germany at that time. Okay, so he would be a German, and he would be teaching everything in German language. So you can clearly understand that this is a big disaster. It's a big disaster. So rest of the chapter I shall be continuing in my upcoming part. Okay, make sure to watch the video, not to watch actually, just to listen. As I told you earlier in the video, you have to listen to this video just as a podcast, as a postcard, and listen to me very carefully. If you have anything to ask, you can take help of a comment section and I would be answering them if you have any doubts. Thank you.